Hey, Bob.
Hi, Suzanne.
Sir Bob. I'm going to give an overview real quick.
Okay.
All right, so you are the youngest of 6 siblings, and the next closest in age is 12 years older than you.
Right.
So you were the surprise child, and you might have gotten a little spoiled.
Just a little.
I grew up Catholic in Northeast Pennsylvania, Hazleton.
Hazleton, yeah.
And near Scranton, and we all know what Scranton's famous for. If you don't, we're not friends. Okay, and the town Hazleton was known as, or was called, the Mob City.
It's called Mob City.
I'll let you take it from here.
By the Philadelphia Inquirer.
Mob
They did
City.
a 3-part series because my hometown had actually, when I grew up, a lot of mafia people there. They came in from New York to hide out. And one guy in particular was called Jack the Dandy. His name was Jack Parisi.
Jack the Dandy.
You could look him up. There's actually stories about this dude. And the group was called Murder Incorporated out of New York. And he came to my hometown to hide out. And I think he was on trial or pending trial. And by the time the trial happened, all of the witnesses had either forgotten what happened or they were no longer around. So, but he lived there till he died. And I painted his house I painted the fence on his house with my brother and brother-in-law, who were both house painters. And it was interesting. Cadillacs would pull up all day, and he was probably in his 80s at the time. A nurse would wheel him out onto the sun porch, and he'd be out there smoking. And he had a grotto of the Blessed Virgin Mother in the backyard. But yet he was part of Murder Incorporated.
Right. Yeah, how does that look on LinkedIn? Business card.
Murder Inc.
Yeah. We'll take care of your problems.
Oh, it's you, Jack.
I have a few names, actually. Oh, that's crazy. And you'd mentioned that y'all were always paid in cash.
Oh, yeah, he paid. So my brother, when we were done, my brother went in the house. He paid him in cash, and he made him do a shot with him.
And your brothers would not allow you to come in. They wanted you because you're their baby brother they're protecting.
Yeah. They didn't let me paint anything but the outside fence. So that's how I saw the Cadillacs pulling up all day long. It was this little white picket fence all the way around.
Jack the Dandy.
Jack the Dandy.
That's crazy. And you mentioned how this town was actually really safe, as long as you didn't get on their bad side.
It actually was.
Because they protected the town.
Yeah, they did. It is wild. Growing up, the town was very, very safe. Unless you crossed them or you were involved with them with anything. Then you crossed them, there was an issue. Because there was a car bombing actually when I was in about 3rd or 4th grade. They blew up this guy's car, but they wanted the father, and they ended up killing the guy's son.
Oh.
Yeah, my town. And this is all, so that's why the Philadelphia Inquirer did this series. All of this stuff is in there. There was also an issue with the school board. So there were kickbacks going on with the school board. And the government found out, subpoenaed everything. The night before the records were supposed to be delivered to the court, there was a fire in the building that housed all the records, and they were all destroyed.
The dress factory, was that?
No. The dress factory was a whole different thing.
Okay.
This was like school district building that held all the records. And it was completely destroyed. All the records were destroyed.
What a coincidence.
Yes. So this movie that came out, The Irishman, mentions Russell Buffalino. So he was the Scranton boss. And my brother-in-law actually told me that I thought he was the big guy, but I think he answered to Jack. So I think Jack was more like higher up there.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it was so interesting. I asked you, well, did your parents not mind? I mean, were they okay with this? And they felt completely safe with you going there.
Yeah. I mean, everybody knew where this guy lived. We would drive by the guy's house.
I mean, your parents didn't say like, hey, just make sure, you don't litter in his yard.
Well, they never really, they never said that, but you knew, as a kid, all the kids would talk about it too. Really? So you knew, don't mess with them.
That is wild.
Don't mess with them or you're dead.
Gosh, I love it. I mean, it's not good, but you know what I mean. So interesting. And now let's talk a little about the things that you love. So when you were young, you got into fashion early. Tell me about that.
I did, which is kind of bizarre because I went to a Catholic grade school and I had to dress the same every day. You know, dark pants, a blue shirt, a tie. But maybe that caused some of the rebellion. But I was the first kid to wear Beatle boots with my Catholic school uniform. So I started to push it even back then. And you know, I'm surprised actually that my parents allowed that, because my father, I'm jumping into the Beatles, but my father blamed the Beatles for like bringing all this craziness to the country, to long hair and the way they dressed and everything.
They were pretty wild.
Yeah. When you look at it
Back
now,
then.
it was like nothing, you know. So we had battles over my hair. I wanted to try and grow my hair like theirs, and he made me go back twice one time to the barber, and I almost ran away because of it. At like 13, and I don't know where I would have gone, but
Had to get
I was that angry. Yep.
Yeah. But your mom sewed fabric in your jeans for bell bottoms.
Oh
right?
yeah, actually, yeah. I forgot all about that too. So when the Beatles were hot in the beginning, the pants, every guy's pants were like tight and pegged. So she actually would do this for me. She would sew them tighter. I remember trying to get them on. I couldn't get them over my ankles. You know, and they were that tight when you wore them.
The price of fashion.
Yeah. Then when I became a hippie later on, we'd split them like from the knee down and make elephant bells, you know, giant elephant bell bottoms. And we would sew in different colored fabrics too. So yeah, so I guess that's kind of the start of it. And I did think I was going to go to school for fashion design because I was always into it. I ended up going to college for graphic design, and it's been great, but I've kind of dabbled in, you know, all kinds of things. I've designed a line of purses, designed a line of clothes.
Yeah, by the way, I'm wearing, and I'll have a better picture of it too, but I'm wearing one of his designs.
Yeah, it's one of the Christmas designs.
It's one of my favorites.
Awesome.
You mentioned going to a Jack Canfield conference.
Oh, yeah.
And that there was a moment that you had there that, you know, we all have these doubts and these self-doubts of, I can't do this or I can't do that. We had this moment during this conference that you just knew you could do whatever you wanted to do, what you were trying to set out to do, and you never had that doubt since.
Yeah, I know.
Right?
It's been amazing because there was a period in my 50s where I thought I was washed up and I just couldn't do it anymore, and I didn't have it. And I don't know how old I was when I went to the Canfield thing, but so Jack Canfield wrote this Chicken Soup for the Souls books, and also a book called The Success Principles. So I went to this 7-day seminar, and I never did anything like that before in my life. And the first 3 days I thought it was a little cult-like, but what was happening is he was working to get us through some of the issues that everybody had, some of the hang-ups they had,
Right.
are all different ways. And then by the third day, we actually did meditation, and I had never meditated before, and I was able to kind of drop into the state. And from that day on, I loved it. It was a very, very rewarding experience.
So cool.
I don't know if you want me to mention what we did with when I had so one of the little sessions that we did was you sat in a chair and 3 people were around you, and you had to think a limiting thought. And so mine was like trying to raise capital for a project, and I'm just thinking, you know, I just can't raise the money for this. And the people around you are chanting, Bob, you can raise the money. Bob, you can raise the money. Bob, you can raise the money. And all of a sudden, it just sort of drops somewhere in your head. And you're like, you hear them all as one voice. I remember that.
Wow.
And then it just clicked in my mind, like, of course I can do this. I know all these people. I can ask this one and that one and that one. And that it really kind of helped with the whole positive thinking issue for me for many areas. You know, that helped a lot.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was a cool conference.
Shout out to Jack Canfield.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Not even being paid for this.
Me either, by the way.
We should get something out of it though.
Yes.
Okay, last thing. Your love of toys.
Yes.
So how did this start? And then I'll get pictures of your favorites. And
well, again, as a kid, so I grew up, I'm the last of 6, and we mentioned, I think, that there's a 12-year difference between me and the next closest one, 20-year difference between me and the oldest one. We're all still around, but they definitely spoiled me as a kid and bought toys for me for Christmas and my birthday. And then I collected some of the stuff that I have in here. A few things probably even belonged to them that got passed down to me. When I went to college, I saw some guys were actually collecting toys, and I knew that my mother, she kept everything in the attic at our house in some of the original boxes. I still have some of the original boxes for some of the stuff. So she was starting to give it away to my nieces and nephews, and I went home one time and said, "Look, stop that. I want to save all that stuff." So then when she passed away, I said to my brothers and sisters, "Look, you guys take anything else in the house, but I'm taking the toys." And they were like, "Yeah, fine, sure." So I did. I packed them all up and shipped them down here.
That's cool.
Yeah, and then we built a house. We built this game room with this in mind. There's like 20 feet of shelves here filled with toys. They're like 8 feet tall.
Amazing. Yeah.
So it's fun to see.
My kids like coming to visit.
Yeah, a lot of kids come in and their eyes light up, and their parents have to say, "Well, now it's a museum. Make sure you don't touch anything."
Which is so cruel.
I know it is.
Torturing children.
Well,
It's their
there's
own
a
hell.
Seinfeld episode about this
Yes.
too. Yeah.
They got her to go to sleep so they could play with all her cool toys.
Yeah.
Ideas. And lastly, the Beatles.
Yes, the Beatles.
You've had some magical experiences. And
Huge influence on my life.
Yeah.
Yes. So again, I got into them. They probably came to the United States when I was in third or fourth grade. It was 1963, I believe. And everyone was mesmerized by them, and tried to emulate them. I said I had Beatle boots with my Catholic school uniform. Tried to do the hair thing. Wasn't able to do that till I was in high school, actually. So they've just affected my life in a huge way. I've been a massive fan. And back in like 97, we went to England and France. And our first day in England, we were going by the changing of the guard and all that stuff. And all I could think about is going by Abbey Road. So we go up to Abbey Road. Kate's filming me crossing the street, walking back and forth. And then on the way back to the hotel that night, we came across a guy who's bent over tying his shoe, and it was Paul McCartney. It, honest to God, was Paul McCartney, bent over tying his shoe with no one else on the street, with Kate and I walking by. I didn't realize. She noticed right away. It didn't click in me till he was about a block away. And I started yelling, "Paul, Paul." And he started to walk faster.
Yeah.
And then we got stuck in traffic. So I never got to talk to him that night, but there was a Russian girl, an exchange student, who witnessed the whole thing. And he has a house right near there. And this was only a few months after his wife, Linda, died. So he was kind of sad looking that night, when Kate took a close look at him in the face. But anyhow, for me, I thought it was a religious experience. Because there I am for the first time in Europe. I never, ever imagined that would have happened. And even though I didn't get to speak to him or shake his hand or anything, I cried that night. It was crazy.
I mean, of all the places you could have been, all the times you could have been there,
it
had to be right then.
I know.
At that place.
I know, it was so weird.
Pretty magical.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
So then, a year ago, we're members of the Four Seasons, and a lot of the stars, when they come in, they stay there. So I got a phone call one day from a friend of ours who's a tennis player up there, and she said, "Bob, Paul McCartney's here, and I think he's going to work out." So I go flying up there, and I change into my workout gear. I go out on the workout floor. I positioned myself at the end. When he leaves, he has to come my way. And here he comes, walking right towards me. And I jump up like I don't know that he's there. I'm like, "Oh my God, Paul!" So I kind of scared him a little, and I stuck my hand out. And without even thinking, I stuck my hand out. He grabbed my hand and shook my hand.
That's so cool.
And I said, "Dude, I just want you to know that I've been a huge fan since I was a kid." And we were going to the concert that night. And I said, "I'm really looking forward to the show." And he said, thanks a lot, and kind of kept on walking. So, there it is. Again, the odds of having this happen, especially a second time for me, for what the Beatles really did mean to me, it's amazing. It was really, again, a magical moment,
Yeah.
It's pretty
That's so
cool.
Well, and to give our history a little bit, so we met because of, well, Kate and Createria, but then
More so at the club.
more so, yeah, I met
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
at the club. I was working at Four Seasons, and we're trouble. You almost got me fired.
Oh, come on. That wasn't me.
It was both of us. We were both guilty parties. And we've had some fun. And yeah, that's a cool place. There was, I told you about the time when I literally bumped into Ozzy Osbourne.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'd never seen someone ever who looked quite like that. So I ran into him. He was wearing like the Four Seasons stuff to work out. Like he just grabbed their shirt and shorts.
Yeah.
Which you wouldn't think. Like you would think, oh, this guy's got top-notch athletic gear. He didn't care.
Yeah.
So I run into him. I turn around. He goes, hello. Hi. Like totally looks like somebody who would need a bat.
Well, it's wild how there's been a bunch of stars there. So I saw
Yeah.
Steven Tyler one night, and he had like lime green sneakers on. He did a couple leg presses and walked off with jeans. I saw the Crocodile Hunter guy before he died.
Really?
Yeah.
You didn't mention that one.
Yeah.
What's the guy from the 80s who would wear makeup? He was in a spin class.
Boy George.
Boy George.
Boy George.
Yeah.
Yes.
Chris Martin was playing basketball, and I just missed him. He was playing with some kids.
Yeah.
And
Tony
Justin
Romo,
Timberlake.
Tony
Justin
Romo's
Bieber.
been in. Oh yeah, Justin Timberlake.
Yeah.
Tony Romo was in Spin once.
Can I get my job back? Just for that?
I know, it is pretty amazing to run into folks like that. And you don't, Rodman was there for a week one time too, but he was just blowing people off. But he was there for a full week. I think he was shooting something for Mark Cuban's channel.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, hey, man, thanks.
All right. It was
This has
awesome.
been great.
Yeah, I know. It was good.
Yeah.
It's good.
You bright muse.